So this video is going to teach you how to find confidence intervals and how to find every bit of information that you need to know the confidence interval. So over here is all of our data, and then I'll read the question. For the data in the Excel file Debt and Retirement Savings, find 95% confidence intervals for the mean income, long-term debt, and retirement savings. Use the appropriate formulas and Excel functions. So here's our three categories: income, long-term debt, and retirement savings, and we'll make a confidence interval for each of them. So we start out with alpha, and since we know this is a 95% confidence interval, we take 100% and we subtract 95% and we get 5%, which is our alpha. So as a decimal, it's 0.05, and that's going to be the same for all three of them. So we can fill in right now 0.05 for all of them. And then we can go on to finding the sample standard deviation for income. So you hit the equals sign, and the standard deviation equation is STDEV for the sample. And then you just highlight the entire column, and then close your parentheses and hit enter. We get around $41,000. And then we find the sample size, which is the number of all these samples. So it goes to 29, but then there's 5 columns not filled, so 29 minus 5 is 24, so that's your sample size. And then the sample average, you do equals, and the equation is just average. And then you highlight the entire column again, close your parentheses and hit enter, and that is how you find the average. Now the confidence interval, as stated in the problem, is 95%. And now we can find the margin of error. So for this type of problem, the sample is small and we don't know anything about the population, so we have to use confidence T. So we do equals confidence T, and for that we need alpha, which we found, the standard deviation, and the sample size. Hit enter, and our error is 17,000 roughly. Now to find the lower and upper limits of the confidence interval, you have to take the average, and for the lower you subtract the margin of error to get around $60,000, and for the upper you do the average plus the error, which is $95,000. Now we'll do the same thing but for long-term debt. So we'll do the sample standard deviation equals STDEV sample. This is for the long-term debt, so highlight everything. Doesn't matter that it has zeros in the column. 29,000. And now the sample size is the same for this one too. It's 24. Now we'll do the average again, which is just average. And then we highlight long-term debt. Close parentheses, hit enter. Now the confidence interval is 95%, and we find the margin of error. We'll use the confidence T again, and then insert the alpha, comma, standard deviation, comma, sample size. Around $12,000. Now to find the confidence interval, the lower limit, we take the sample average and we subtract the error. For the upper, we take the sample average and we add the error for $9,000 roughly and $34,000. Now finally, we'll find the confidence interval for retirement savings. Standard deviation equals STDEV sample. Go back up, retirement savings column, highlight it all, close the parentheses, and $36,000 is your answer. Now the sample size is 24 again because they all go down to the 29th row. Sample average equals average. And then you go up to retirement savings column and highlight the whole thing. And there you have it. Another way to do average and sums is right up here. You can do sum, average, count numbers, max and min. Just highlight the column and then leave a space, and you can also do it that way. The Confidence interval, as we knew before, is 95%. Error, we're going to use confidence t, alpha, comma, standard deviation, comma, sample size, close your parentheses, hit enter, $15,000. Now for the lower limit, we take our sample average and we subtract the error. And for the upper limit, take the sample average and add the error. And there is your answer. So that is how you find confidence intervals using the t formula for the margin of error. And that is how you also find the standard deviation, sample size, sample average, and alpha.